welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where I am back from my skiing holiday. Thank you for your forbearance in the meantime. I've been, last week's worth of videos from me have all been pre-records, and that's why there have been no birthday announcements and no names read for people who managed to successfully solve Alice in Sudokuland, which was our March monthly reward. But now I'm back, I can correct everything. But let's start with a puzzle I'm going to be attempting today. By the way, over the last week, the testers have been sending me puzzle after puzzle with eulogies accompanying them. So we should be in for an absolute purple patch of puzzles on the channel, assuming I can solve these. But today's puzzle is called Leapfrog, and it is a standard killer Sudoku that comes via Jovial and Echoes. Now, Echoes is not a constructor, I know, but Jovial is, of course, an absolutely wonderful constructor. She is absolutely brilliant. So I can't tell you why this is called Leapfrog. Is there a shape of a frog in it? I don't think so. Leapfrog must therefore be something to do with the way it solves, which sounds absolutely terrifying. This does have 5 stars out of 5 for difficulty on Logic Masters Germany, and some absolutely great comments. I think someone described the break-in to this puzzle as Simplicated, by which they meant that it was both simple and complicated at the same time. Don't know what that means. Hopefully we're going to find out in a moment or two. Yeah, how was skiing? It was very fine, thank you, although I have hurt my back, and that is not very fine. So I'm quite pleased for the distraction of solving the Sudoku. Now, before I embark on the birthdays, because I've got behind, let me tell you a couple of things that are going on. The big news, frankly, is that our second Gas Sudoku pack is out. So Gas is the genuinely approachable Sudokus that appear every day over on the Discord server from Clover, from Bill Murphy, and from Philip Newman. And we released one pack of these puzzles a while back, and now our second pack has just gone live. These are brand new puzzles. You won't be able to get them anywhere else, and they're exactly the same style as you'll find from those daily puzzles. They seem to be incredibly popular, and with good reason. So if you fancy some gas puzzles, you know where to go. You just download the base Cracking the Cryptic app on App Store or Android or Steam. It's completely free to do that. And then I think it's $2.99, I think, for the gas pack, and that's 60 puzzles in all. So incredibly good value, if I do say so myself. Now we're not that far off April. Gosh, it's nearly the time for the Masters. And start of April, we have a brand new Sudoku hunt over on Patreon. It's a nightmare hunt, nightmare with a K. What does that mean? Well, I'll reveal more in the coming days. That's coming to you from the Skunk Works, this incredible Sudoku collective. So that's coming very soon. Now I'll get to birthdays. So now the first birthday here, it's a name that looks like Simon, but it's from Norway. So it might be Simon, it might be Simen. I'm not sure. I hope I'm not saying it terribly wrongly. But your friend and colleague Thor wrote to us. Well, Thor is a heck of a name as well, isn't it? I'd quite like to be called Thor. That would be impressive. But Simen, congratulations on your birthday, and which I think is today. And I hope you're able to have chocolate cake. I'm sure Norway does excellent chocolate cake. Next, Lishdesh, who's a constructor that I've solved many puzzles by in the past. Absolutely fabulous constructor. It was your birthday on the 23rd of March. I know this because your wife Susan wrote to us, and she wrote rather cutely that she loves you so much. You're an amazing husband, and she's sorry if she's grumpy with you sometimes, which I thought was quite funny. Calvin, it was your birthday yesterday up there in Edinburgh. You turned 29, I think. I hope you're able to have some cake. Jenny, oh, that's Mark FaceTiming me. I wonder why he's doing that. Okay, well, we'll ignore Mark. Sorry, Mark. Jenny, it was your birthday on the 25th in Islington. Gosh, I used to study for accountancy exams in Islington back in the day, and your husband Alex wrote to us and said you'd appreciate a shout out, Jenny, so happy birthday for the 25th. Hugh, you turned 31 Oh, I don't know when this was. I'm sorry, Hugh. I don't think it's today, but I might be wrong about that. But anyway, you're over there in Bristol, and your partner Melissa wrote to us, and apparently you're both looking forward to your bobbins cushions. Now, the bobbins cushions are something that's coming up for those of you who invested in our second book. So if you go over to the Kickstarter campaign, you might be able to read about bobbins cushions, I believe. Heather, you turned 40 on the 25th of March. And I know this because your best friend Jessica, she wrote a lovely email actually. She described you as the nicest and sweetest person she's met in her life. Now, I think we'd all like to be somebody's nicest and sweetest person. So, Heather, congratulations. Cora, you turned 17 last Friday, and I know this. I know you were down in France. I was in Val d'Isère, and I should thank Lone. Lone wrote to me to say that, he works in a restaurant in Val d'Isère, and could he buy me dinner? We didn't manage to arrange that, but Lone, it was very kind of you for asking me. Thank you. And then Brian, today is your 36th birthday, the triangular number for 8. And I know that you're over there in Maryland in the US, and you've moved over the course of watching Cracking the Cryptic, you've moved from 2-star puzzles to 5-star puzzles on Logic Masters Germany, which is incredibly impressive. And the only other thing I need to do is to read out, some of you were wondering whether I'd missed your names when we were doing the Alice in Sudokuland, people who completed the whole hunt. No, I was just on a hiatus while I was on holiday. So, very well done to Danielle and Colin, Alexander Petrovich, Abhinav Jain, who finished the last puzzle at 3 a.m. and had an 8 a.m. meeting at work. That's what I like to hear. Hannes Kristen Arneson, Jonathan Alp, who sent us a very good, it was a very good chat GPT poem using the words brillig and another word which I almost read, which I won't read because it might be a spoiler. But anyway, yeah, using those words and about Sudoku. So Jonathan, thank you for that. Mart Adelar, George White, James Farrar, Ryan Mustaine, John Alistair Warwicker, who got married on the 20th to Paranat over there in Thailand. I hope that went well, John. Hugh Perkett, Tobias Binder, Hamish Watt, Titus Aduxus. You've done it again, haven't you? I'm not going to comment further. That was quite good. That was quite good. The less said about that, the better. Jeff Snyder, Callum Mailer, Chris Boyan, and Alice and Jacob Hannah. Very well done indeed. Right, with that, let's get on. Don't turn that into a meme or something. Right, here we go. Leapfrog by Jovial and Echoes. These are the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Digits in marked cages must not repeat and must sum to the total given in the top left corner of the cage. So, okay, so what we're being told there is that those 3 cells sum to 22, and the way we couldn't do that is like, whoopsie, you can see how out of practice I am. You couldn't do that like that because although double 9 and 4 do add up to 22, you've repeated the 9s in the cage, and that's jolly naughty, and we mustn't do it. I have to say, last week I haven't done many Sudoku, so I might be very rusty. We shall see. But do have a go at the puzzle yourselves. The way to play is to click the link under the video, as usual. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Right, what am I seeing here? I'm seeing 2 enormous 45 cages. I suppose we can talk about the fact that, well, we know these must be 9-cell cages because we know that none of the cages can contain a repeated digit, and there is a secret that I only tell my favourite people, but if you're watching this, of course you're one of those people. The secret is that all 9 Sudoku numbers add up to 45. So when we see a 45 cage, given it can't have 2 digits the same in it, we know it must be a 9-cell cage. 22 cage has got to have a 9 in it. It's either 589 or 679. We've got a plethora of those. Look, okay. So this one and this one are different, which is marginally interesting. That can't be a 9, but this digit can't appear in that 22 cage. So these are two different flavours of 22 cage, and that means I'm going to colour them. There we've said it. So one of these is 679, one of these is 589, but we don't know which is which. Ah, okay. What about that 45 cage though? That must have a 9 in it. And that 9 is not in those cells, so it's in one of those cells. Ugh, I don't really want to pencil mark that because it's across a box. So when I put, which that one is as well, I suppose, but for some reason that one's less offensive to me than if I put 9. Oh, let's just do it. You only live once, YOLO. 8 cages have to have a 1 in them. So there are 3 8 cages, I think. There may be more, but I'm seeing those 3. 8 cages are either 134 or 125. It's going to be something geometric, I think. Oh, it's simplicated, isn't it? It's a simplicated break-in, apparently. So it's simple yet complicated. What could that mean? Is that a help or a hindrance to us? I was thinking it might be something geometric, just because I was suddenly thinking about this 45 cage. The wings of which, though, well, okay, what I'm seeing is that those 4 digits there, they have to be those digits, don't they, in box 1? Because we know that these 2 cells can't repeat in the cage, so they have to go there. And these 2 cells can't repeat in the cage, and they can't be those cells, so they also have to go there. So this little foursome here is the sort of right and left wing of this 45 arrowhead, which means that, that's interesting. So that does mean that if there was a 9 down here, which there might be from our pencil marks, well, that's not really saying anything. Then that would be a 9, but we would know that anyway because the 9 this cage has to have a 9 in it. But we do know that 3 of those 4 yellow cells that I've just highlighted there have to be capable of fitting in an 8 cage. So it's only possible for there to be 1 high digit, and by high I mean 6 or higher, in these yellow cells. I've got my window open today, by the way, so you might hear more bird noise than you've been used to. But spring, I feel, is nearly upon us. What is this? What do we have to do here? These 8 cages are different as well. And that's right, okay. Imagine this was a 134 cage. This couldn't be a 134 cage as well, because then those 4 digits would only be selected from 3 different numbers, the numbers 1, 3 and 4, and therefore they would have to have a repeated digit. So this and this are different. I don't really know how to, well, I can modify my, maybe I'll get rid of the yellow actually. Maybe I'll get rid of the yellow. Do I get rid of the yellow, or do I sort of make it even more complicated? I'll make it more complicated. So grey and purple are different flavours of 8 cage. The other thought I've just had is not maths, is it? It could be maths. I'm suddenly realising those cells there. Let's give those another colour. Those cells I can work out the value of, I think, and that's because if we look at all of the cages in the top few rows of the grid, those cages, we know the sum of those just by adding up the numbers in the top left-hand corner of the cages. But I know that the first 5 rows of the grid add up to 5 lots of 45, because each row must contain the digits 1 to 9. And we know from the secret, therefore, that we've got 5 lots of 45 in here, which is 225, So we know that those red cells are equal to 225 minus the total for all the cages. Now we've got 2 cages that are 45 cages, so that's 90. We've got 3 22 cages, so that's another 66. 3 8 cages, which is another 24, so that's 90 and 90. So okay, so we've got 90 and 9. That's weird. I've just noticed that those cages sum to 90. Is that somehow... I don't know, sorry, I realise I'm corpsing there. I'm just sort of, that's a bit suspicious to me that I've got 90 in the 45 cages and I've got 90 exactly in those. So that's 180 plus 15 here is 195, but effectively we can see that this has to add up to 30, can't we? Because it is the part of the final 45 is how I'm thinking about it, because I know that this is 5 lots of 45, but I know that these cells, that's 2 lots of 45, and these were another 2 lots of 45. So in effect, those cells have to add up to 45, and that's 15. So those add up to 30. Now the problem there is that that's not interesting at all. So that is about as useful as a chocolate teapot. 30 in 6 cells. I don't think it's going to be... These 15 cages are all really symmetrical as well. I don't think this is going to be set though, is it? Nines can't... Oh, okay, I can't put 9 in that red region. Ah. Right, that's mildly interesting. Excuse me, the reason I can't put 9 in the red region is I've already got all 5 9. So obviously there are 5 9s in the first 5 rows of any Sudoku puzzle, unless it's got very strange rules. But look, there's a 9 in that 45 cage, there's a 9 in that 22 cage, there's a 9 in that 22 cage, there's a 9 in that 22 cage, and there's a 9 in that 45 cage, and that's all 5 9s from the first 5 rows accounted for. So there cannot be 9 in my 30 total. But 8, 7, 6, 5 is 26, isn't it? So that doesn't feel terribly difficult. Is that right? 8, 7, 6, 5, 26, and then a 4 would be 30. So perhaps, well, actually that would still be not enough digits, but I think there are still options for how we can make that work. So there's no 9 in that 15 cage either. Oh. Oh, I see. Oh, God. All right. Okay, that is Simplicated, actually. That is Simplicated. I've got a digit. I have got a digit in this grid. I can write in that cell, I think. That's very cute and very... It's actually very simple. It really is. I don't even think it deserves to be called Simplicated. It's just counting. Wow. Okay, that's very, very clever of the constructors. So what I've just noticed about 9s, I suddenly thought, well, hang on. I've got 3 8 cages here in the first 5 rows. And if I add on another 1 that must appear in both of the 45 cages, that accounts for 5 1s as well. So if I've got 5 1s and 5 9s in these cages, whoopsie, in those cages, in fact, what does that tell us? Well, that's all 5 1s and all 5 9s that exist in in these rows. So if I was to put a 1 or a 9 in these cells, or that one, that would be a 6th 1 or a 6th 9 in the first 5 rows of the grid, and that won't work. So in fact, those two cells are a 1-9 pair, because there must be a 1 and a 9 in row 5 somewhere, and we've just said that it can't be in anywhere other than in one of the cages that we've just said account for the 5 1s and 5 9s in the first 5 rows of the grid. So this is a 1-9 pair, but if we worked out that the red cells added up to 30, the whole row adds up to 45, so 30 plus 10 is 40, that cell is a 5. Bingo. Bingo. That is weird. That is absolutely weird and quite wonderful. So those two squares add up to 10. Oh, and we almost know the flavour. We almost know whether this is mozzarella or Robuchon cheese, don't we? This 8 cage, because it almost can't have a 5 in it. That could be the 5, and well, if we knew it didn't have a 5, then we would know that that one was 1, 2, 5, because this one would have to be 1, 3, 4. Do I know the flavour of this 22 cage? Can we say whether this 22 cage is blue or green? I don't think we can. Or this 8 cage, which is either grey or purple. Don't see how to do that. There may be a way of seeing how to colour these 2 cages in, but I don't immediately see how to do it. Bobbins, I'm getting stuck now. We could argue about this 15 cage doesn't have a 5 in it. That's not interesting. It's got to be a... Oh, got it. Right. Okay. Actually, no, I might not have got this, actually. Sorry, I just thought I had an intelligent thought there. And I fear I might be wrong about that. Hang on. In the first 5 rows of the grid, I've got to put 5 5s in the grid. Yeah, no, this works. This works. I've got to put 5 5s in the first 5 rows of the grid. There's one of them. There's one in one of the 22 cages. I don't know which one it's in, but it's in one of them, because one of those must be a 5, 8, 9. So that's 2 5s. There's one in one of those 8 cages. Again, I don't know which one it's in, but one of them's got to have a 5 in it. So that's 3 5s, and there's 1 5 in the 45 cage and another 5 in this 45 cage. So that's all 5 5s. Oh, this is so sick. Right, so now there's no 5s in that cage or that cage. So I might not be able to colour these, but I do know neither of them has a 5 in it, because that would be a 6th 5 in the first 5 rows of the grid. So this is 6, 7, 9, and that is 1, 3, 4. Maverick's just taken off. What a splendid day. Oh, come on. This is it. I'm sure this is it. So now I'm wondering if I can now... Is this driving this to be a 2-8 pair? That's what I feel like. This puzzle is something to do with counting digits in these first 5 rows. and making sure you don't have too many of them, given you've always got one of every digit in both 45 cages. Yeah, okay. This is a 2/8 pair. And this is absolutely beautiful. This is one of those puzzles that is just... It's just a gorgeous idea. And the execution of this is quite sublime. Let's forget now about the first 5 rows and let's look at the first 4 rows of the grid. And let's count 6s in the first 4 rows of the grid, because there's one there in those 3 cells. That's 1. There's another in one of these 22 cages. That's 2. There's one in the 45 cage and there's one in this 45 cage, because we know neither of those digits can be a 6. So in the first 4 rows of the grid, all the 6s are accounted for before you get to this domino. That has not got a 6 in it. That logic that I've just done extends for the digit 7, the digit 4 and the digit 3. Because there's always going to be a 3 or a 4 in both 45 cages, and there's always going to be a 3 or a 4 in one of those 8 cages as well. So this has not got 3, 4, 6 or 7 in it, and it's not got 1 or 9 in it, because we know the 1s and the 9s live in the other cages, so it must have a 2/8 pair. And that's a 2/8 pair. That's the only other way of making 10, obviously. And that means that, I see. Right, that means this purple cage now cannot be 1, 2, 5, because neither of these squares could be 2 or 5. So this one is 1, 3, 4, which means that one is 1, 2, 5. Come on, we're on the right lines, I feel. Just got to figure out what this means. So this has become purple, I suppose, is what we've just learnt. Is that useful? Oh, hang on. Hang on. Because remember yellow, we now virtually know what these the sort of right and left wings of this 45 cage have to be, don't we? We know that they're now 1, 2, 5 triple, and whatever that digit is. Right. Oh, that's got, this is a 5. Right, this is absolutely beautiful again. Okay, so one of these cells is definitely a 5. But these cells can't have a 5 in. And that's because both of this domino here sees every digit that can possibly go in a 22 cage, because they see both flavours of 22 cage, and we know that the 2 flavours of 22 cage are 5, 8, 9 and 6, 7, 9. In other words, well, one way of seeing this is that these digits can only therefore be the digits 1, 2, 3 and 4, because they see 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 by Sudoku. And that means the 5 that we know lives in yellow isn't there. So it's exactly there. Right. So these... Yes, so this is a 1, 2 pair as well, because these low digits cannot go in a 22 cage. That's what we've just said. So they've got to be a 1, 2 pair. And now that cell can't be a 1, because it would repeat... It would repeat in this cage here that goes around the corner. So that's got to be a 9, which means that's got to be a 9, which means we've got a 6, 7 pair here. We've got no 9 there. We've got a 1, 2 pair here. So this can't be a 1. This can't be a 1. And presumably we can do some other magic. This square here is a 1 because it's not a 9. So that's a 1 now in the purple cage at the top by Sudoku. That 1 sees that triple. So this is now a 2, 5 pair. 1 is in one of those two cells, I think in box 4. Oh no, that doesn't tell us where it goes in the central box. Okay, and therefore I don't know what that means, but I'm quite excited about this because I feel like understanding these sorts of 1s, 5s, 9s, and the allocation of the digits to the cages in the first 5 rows was the simplicated thing that we were trying to establish. Right, so these are not 9s anymore because we knew we had our strange 9 pencil mark down column 1, didn't we? What, a 1 and... Okay, I don't quite know how to pencil mark this, but in this column, 1 and 2 are not in those squares. So 1 and 2 are in those 4 squares, and you can't put a 1 and a 2 into a 15 cage because the other digit will be a 12, and that is not valid. So there's a 1 in one of these cages, and there's a 2 in one of these cages. So one of these cages is 1, and then 2 digits that add up to 14, which... that can be an 8, actually. I thought this one was going to be ruled out from being a 1, because obviously this can't be 1, 5, 9. You can't put 5 or 9 into either of those squares. Oh, bobbins, come on, Simon. That 15 cage can't have a 1 in it. There's a 1 in one of those cells. And it can't have a 5 in it. Sorry, I suspect there's some way now that we can we use the fact that we know that this is 967 to colour it? It's got to be the same colour as either blue or green. So those digits don't go in there. So if they went in there, they could go in there. Oh, no, that wouldn't work because one of those is a 9. These 2 digits. I'm wondering about these 2 digits in this cage. And where exactly do they go? Is it possible to put both of them in here? If I put both of them in there, then they could appear in there, and then they would appear in one of those 3 cells, or 2 of those 3 cells. If I only put one of them in there, then I could have it there, and no, I'm not sure. I think there might be a way of colouring this 22 cage. I do know that at least one of these cells is in here. That's definitely true, because I can't put both of them in there. And the reason I can't put both of them in there is that this 6-7 pair would therefore not be in green, and they couldn't both be in blue in here because one of these is definitely a 9. So neither of these cages could be a 6, 7, 9. Triple. 5 is in one of those 3 cells. That digit has to go in one of those 2 squares, doesn't it? Because it must appear in the 45 cage, can't appear in any of those 5 cells, and is not equal to 5 or 9. So one of these squares is that square. And... oh no, come on, Simon. I come back to this. Right, I know that there's a 1 and a 2 down here somewhere. Is it really possible for this to be a 1? If that... see, it's not possible for that to be a 1. If that's a 1, you cannot make that domino add up to 14, because it couldn't have 6, 8 or 5, 9 in it. So that is not a 1. So the 1 is either in this 15 cage, or it's exactly there. Now if it is there, that has to be a 6 and that has to be an 8. Now what's wrong with that? If we did know that, we would know the flavour of blue, because there would be a 6 in that domino. Oh, this square can't be a 2 either. If that was a 2, this domino needs to add to 13, and there are no options. It couldn't be 6, 7, 5, 8 or 4, 9. So this square is definitely not a 1 or a 2, but we know that we're allocating the 1 and the 2 in this column, 1 to this domino and 1 to this domino. So that square is a 1 or a 2. Oh, for goodness sake, Simon. Right, sorry. I got obsessed with thinking about whether this could be a 1. But it can't be a 2, actually. If it's a 2, you've got to make this domino add to 13. But what I'd missed is that both of these squares see both of those squares. That's gorgeous, actually. It's really simple. Well, obviously, you can't put a 6-7 pair in here, because this can be neither 6 nor 7. And you can't make this be 5, 8, because that 5 sees both. And you can't make it be 4, 9, because the 9 sees both. So this is a 1. And if it's a 1, these two squares add up to 14, and they have to be 6 and 8, and we know the order. So we've got 8 here, 6 here, there's a 6 here. That tells us the flavour of blue, which is now 5, 8, 9, which means this is 6, 7, 9, which means this is, you've guessed it, green. So perhaps actually we'll get rid of the yellow now. Let's get rid of the yellow, make that green. Therefore, this is not 9. And now, so I want to say now, that digit, where does that digit go in this 45 cage? That one there. It doesn't go there. It's not there because of the 6-7 pair, and it doesn't repeat in its own box. So it goes there. So that is a 6 or a 7, which gives us a 6, 7, 9 triple in row 2, where we've not put the digits 3, 4, and 8 in. Oh, what about 8 in column 1? There's an 8 in this triple, so there's an 8 here. But we said that there was a 3, 4 in one of those as well. So these squares are from 3, 4, and 8, and they definitely include 8, which means 8 is in one of those 3 squares. Those squares are at 2, 3, 4 triple. And come on, I think we're getting somewhere now. Oh no, I was about to get excited about 7, and that was totally unwarranted. 5 in this box is in one of those squares, so it's not there, which means 5 is in the 15 cage down here. So we've got 2 more digits in here that add up to 10, which is presumably in some way restricted. Oh, we've got a sort of X-wing on 1s in this domino and this domino. So that's the 2 1s that we know are going to appear in columns 4 and 5. There's only going to be 1 1 in this column and 1 1 in this column, and we know that those 2 1s are in those 2 dominoes. So that means that this is not 5 1 9. It's either 5 2 8, which would have to be in a very particular order, 5 3 7, or 5 4 6. I don't know how we do that. 8 in box 5. If we look at this, there's got to be an 8 in those 3 squares as well. So there's no 8 in this little V-shaped pentomino, so there must be an 8 in there, which is nearly good. Oh, bobbins, come on, Simon. What about... what about... Okay, we know there's a 2 down here, don't we? Sorry, I know in particular there's a 2 in this domino from the work we did earlier. So there's a 2, and then 2 digits that add up to 13, which are not 6, 7, and they don't seem to be able to be 5, 8. So this is 2, 4, 9. I mean, oh, we know the order. Ah, right, this was what we were missing. So this is a 2, 4 pair, which means this is not 4. This is now 3, 8. We get a 7 in the corner of the grid. No song for you. What are those two digits then? They are something and something. 4 and 6. Which means... And that's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. So this is a 3 in the corner. Which means now I've got a quintuple on 1, 2, 3, 5 and 8 in column 9. So by Sudoku then, those two digits are from 4, 6, 7 and 9. We can get rid of 6 from this one. And does that mean I know what that digit is the question. I don't know. There's no 8 apparently in this cage. There's no 5 in this cage. And there's no 1 in this cage. Right, so this cage might be worth thinking about actually, because it's got to have 1 of 7 and 9 in it. And that's because it doesn't have 8 in it. And it doesn't have 5 in it. So if it didn't have 7 or 9 in it, then it's the highest it could be made up of is 6, 4 and 3. And 6, 4 and 3 only add up to 13. It can't have both 7 and 9 in it, because then this would have to be a -1, and that's not going to work. So it's got 1 of 7 and 9 in it, and it doesn't have 1 in it. So if it's got 9 in it, it's 9, 2, 4, which would put a 2 here and make this a 4, 9 pair. But if it's got 7 in it, then the other two digits are adding up to 8, and they're not 1, 7, and they're not 3, 5, so it would be 2 and 6. So it's right, so this has always got 2 in it, is what we've just deduced, and the 2 doesn't seem to be able to go there. So this is a 2, so that's not a 2. These two squares add up to 13. Oh, this is an 8 now by Sudoku, that's a 2. These add up to 13. So these must add up to 13 as well, because one of these is going to be a 6, 7 pair, one of these is going to be a 4, 9 pair. Oh, right, where does 2 go in box 5? There's a 2 in that domino, look. So the 2 in box 5 must go here. There's a 2 down here. These squares have got to include a 9, I think. Yeah, just by Sudoku on this row, there's a 9 in this domino, which means that's not a 9, which means that's not a 4, because we know these add up to 13. Oh, hang on, so I've got a mismatch here. This is a 7 or a 9, so that's got to be low. That can't be 7. Yeah, okay, I could have seen that before. That can't be 7 because this can't be 6 because of this digit. So this is 4 or 6. Oh, here we go. Right, this is, again, it's just lovely the way this fits together. It's like a jigsaw. 7 in this box now is not there. It's not here. So it's in one of those two squares, and look at it. It looks up at that digit, which we know is the same as that digit from what we did earlier, but also therefore sort of forced by Sudoku. Right, what's that done? What's that done to the world? That means this square is 3 or 8 by Sudoku. That's deeply disappointing. Come on, Simon. 7, 9, 3, maybe? No, no, it doesn't work. Okay, sorry. Let me just mull this over. I'm sure that we're on the right lines. I've just got to figure out how this works. Oh, come on, where is it? Where is the next deduction? 7 in this 45 cage is not there, and it's not here. So it is in. So it's exactly there, actually. Which means no, it doesn't. I thought it was going to tell me whether this had a 7 in it, but I don't think it does. It just tells me there's a 7 in one of these 3 positions, which is not quite good enough, is it? This square is a 5 or an 8, believe it or not, because we've only got 5, 8, 9 to place in box 3, and this, we know the 9 is up there, so that's 5 or 8, which finds a friend here and then goes down there in box 9. So 3, 4, 5, 8. So this is 3, 4, 5 or 8. Surely I know which one of those it is. I say that, but I clearly don't. What was that? It just flew past the window. Right, okay. So, what do we do now? We must ask a question about this column, maybe? 3. No, I don't really like the look of that, actually. These squares are a bit restricted because they see 1, 8, 9 and they see 2, 4 and 6. So they only have the option of being 3, 5 and 7. So these are from 3, 5 and 7. Which looks like it should do something, but I can't see how it does something. All right. It's probably this 15 cage is what we've got to figure out. But I don't quite see. Is there some digit that we can definitely rule out from this now? We know it's got 2 digits that add up to 10, as well as the 5, and we know that it couldn't be 519. Now, if it was, oh, it can't be 528 now because of this 2. Ah, okay. So this is either 537. Now, why is it not that? I can't see why it's not that. But it's either that. Let's just put that in for a moment. It's either 537. This would have to be the 3 or the 7. Or it's 546. Now, if it's 546, we have to have a 5-6 pair at the top, and this has to be a 4. So this comes down to being 3, 4, or 7. It's not good enough, is it? It doesn't quite cut the mustard, I don't think. So we've got 3, 4. Okay. So is it to do with... Oh, it's where does 9 go in box 5? I've just realised it's got to go there. Is that useful? Maybe. Or maybe not. I don't believe it. Okay, 9's in one of these squares. So we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this square... Oh, I don't know. Sorry about this. If you've all spotted how to figure this out, you're a better man than I am, Gunga Din. Is it something to do with purplification? What digits do we have to have in here? We have to have 5 and 8, don't we? And that's led to these pencil marks, which is fine. 5, 6, 4. Okay, I'm getting stuck, as you've no doubt noticed. I'm sure there's some way through this. I just don't know if I know what it is. What could we do? What's the likely avenue of... I know one of these is a 1, and one of these is a 3 or a 4. So these squares are from 3, 4 and 9. That one is not a 4, so that's 3 or 9. But I don't think I know which. Okay. Do we... Oh, maybe it's something to do with 7s then. Can I rule 7 in or out of this cage? No. Maybe... No. In fact, definitely not. Oh, 6! Where does 6 go in this box? I've just realised. I can do that. 6 goes there. Ah, that's probably going to be it. So that's 6. That's 7 by maths. That's not 7. That's not 7. So that's just 3 or 4 now. But this 6 is going to do the wonders, I think. So 6 comes out of here. So this is now 3, 5 or 7. And I know one of the digits... Oh, that's done it. If this is 3, 5 or 7, one of the digits is 3 or 7, and therefore the counterpart to that adds up to 10 is going to be 3 or 7. That square therefore must be the 3, which means this has become a 5, 7 pair. That's become a 7. Aha! Aha! Is this it? I don't know, but look, in this row, that square's got to be a 3 or a 4 by Sudoku. Okay, so does this 3 do anything? That's not 3 anymore. 7 lives in a domino at the bottom of column 6. And I'm sure there's more we can do. That square's become a naked single. Jovial and Echoes, how dare you? 51 minutes. I've only done 51 minutes. You're making me do Sudoku. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's got to be a 5. So that's a 5. That's a 2. Aha. That means that's a 2, believe it or not. It's the only place 2 can go. Now, in box number 4, that square is now not 5. So it's 3 or 7. Surely this is done. Ah! I don't know if it is actually. It continues to be recalcitrant. What about oh, I see. Where does 9 go in column 9? It's only got 1 space left. So that's 9, that's 4, that's 4, that's 2. That's not 2 anymore. 4 has to be in that domino in box 8. Now, does that do anything for us? 9. Oh, look, 9. That's it. Look at 9. 9 in this box is ruled out here, and that seems to leave it with only 1 space, which not only places it there and gives me a 9 and a 7 and a 7 and a 5, but also I displaced a 4 pencil mark there, so that's got to be a 4. That doesn't actually do anything. Oh no, it does. Where does 4 go in box 2? It's only got there. Now it can't repeat in its cage, so that finishes off those digits and finishes off those digits. So these squares are now a 3, 5, 8 triple, which means in this column we haven't placed 1, 6 and 7, and that's a naked single, and that's got to be a 6. And this is a 1, 7 pair. And if that's a 6, 3, look, 3's doing some work as well. That's got to be that, that's got to be 3, that's got to be 4 and 3. That 4 gives me a 4 and a 6 and a 6 and a 7. So by Sudoku, that's the 7 in column 2. And that 7 does the 7 and the 1 at the bottom of column 6. Good grief. Now, what's this? That's got to be 4 and 8, doesn't it? So that's 4, that's 8. So presumably we're going to be able to do something. 5, 8 at the bottom of column 4. And 6 and something. 6 and 2 at the bottom of this column. And the 2 in the corner does some work. So 2 and 6 can be placed. 2 comes out of this square. Now, does that mean that's a 2? Yes. So that's a 2, that's a 1, that's a 1, that's an 8. So that square's a naked single. It sees 8 and 9. So that's 5, that's 8, that's 3, that's 5. 3, 8, 9, 8. This column needs a 5 in it. We can put that in. That gets me the 5 and the 8. These squares have got to be a 3 and a 6, which I can now do. That's not got 3, so that's suddenly the puzzle's finished itself. How did it do that? I have no idea, but I did finish it. Good grief. That was fabulous, wasn't it? Absolutely fabulous. I'm intrigued, actually. I think I could have done the latter half more quickly if I'd just done better at Sudoku. But we've already talked about the outrage of being made to do Sudoku in these Sudoku puzzles. At the start, these first, it's just magical what was performed by the constructors in those 5 rows. Incredible, absolutely incredible the way that fitted together, and so simplicated as well, really simplicated. Now what was more complicated was what happened thereafter, and I'm not sure whether I could have done more of the same sorts of tricks of counting digits. 1s and 2s were interesting here, weren't they? But I found it really hard to see. Maybe it was just some Sudoku I missed in this box. Wasn't it this digit I should have got as being a 6, I think, more quickly? But there may have been other things. I couldn't see how to resolve this with much alacrity. But once we did work out how these 15 cages worked, it all sort of slotted together. And I guess what I was thinking was, if you were constructing a puzzle like this, you'd have to be so careful not to put anything in the bottom of the grid that would disturb the magical elixir that you'd put in the top of the grid. So Jovial and Echoes, take a bow. That's one of the best killer Sudokus I've seen in my life. Thank you very much for entertaining me on my return from holiday. I hope you enjoyed watching me struggle through the puzzle. Let me know in the comments. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.